So this is probably you if you feel like you want to get into a fitness routine, but you feel like you need a whole hour to get a workout in. So if you don't have that hour, you end up giving up and not going either to the gym or starting your workout in the first place. Or you love the idea of a morning routine, but you can't get yourself to stop snoozing your alarm 4, 5, 6 times and you sleep in, so you don't have any time for a morning routine. Or you set all the reminders on your phone to stop scrolling, get better sleep. You know that you shouldn't have blue light in front of you. You know that you should be going to sleep with like a book in front of you instead, but you can't stop scrolling at night. Um, with food, you say screw it very, very easily when you're out to eat. Let's say you were really good all week, but on the weekend you're out to eat. You already shared some appetizers, so you might as well start over the next day. So you say screw it. You maybe love exercise, but it's also become this weird form of punishment for you over the years of burning off the calories that you've overeaten. And you've started programs, but you either struggle to follow all the way through or you do follow through 100% for some time, but then you burn out. And then you feel like, well, I'm just not disciplined enough to be able to follow through with a program. So maybe being fit in this stage of my life is not for me. And that's a narrative that starts to become your reality. And if that's the case, I really am glad that you are here because number one, I get it because everything I just described was literally me, a little bit on me and my personality. I am pretty all or nothing with everything that I've done in my life and been successful with. And that's where that catch 22 comes into play, right? I'm an Enneagram 3, the achiever. Whenever I go into something, whether it was sports, I played volleyball growing up. And once I found that, I just dove all the way in. When I started my business when I was 19 years old, I dove all the way in. Now it's been 10 years, right? When I learned about bodybuilding, I dove all the way in, did that for a good 4 years. And pretty much everything in my life that I have taken interest in, I deep dive. I make it my whole identity. I get obsessed. And the same was for fitness. And that was where my fitness journey really started. But with fitness, the interesting thing was it actually plagued me more than it rewarded me. Everything else, I was able to see like a pretty quick ROI from like getting obsessed, getting better at it. And I saw quick success with volleyball, bodybuilding, even CrossFit. I tried my hand at for a good year or so. Um, but the thing about fitness is that when you dive all in, it actually takes away from other areas of your life. It becomes an obsession that is not really healthy for a general healthy lifestyle because it's so embedded in everything that we do. We have to eat multiple times per day. Our sleep is embedded into our routines. Our workouts, they can be great for us, but in excess, they can hurt us, right? And so every time I started over, I said, this time's going to be different. I'm going to be dedicated. I'm going to be disciplined. And I always ended up falling flat on my face or burning out. And it wasn't really until I understood that that's the wrong way to be approaching your health and fitness as an all or nothing perfectionist type of person that was really hard for me to accept that it can't look the same way that it did in other areas for me to be successful long term. And it was really hard to also understand the fact that this idea of like good enough was the right way to get the body that I wanted because I just had this association built that perfection was the only way to get the perfect body, the one that I scrolled through and looked at all over Tumblr. Now I think it's called like Skinny Talk or something like that on TikTok. And I idolized these really thin, really skinny bodies. Then I idolized really fit, really muscular bodies. But even so, no matter what I idolized, I never got it because I was always just bouncing between perfect and nothing. And so when I started to accept the gray area and trained my body and my mind to accept good enough over perfect, that's when I actually got into the body that I have now, which is what I would describe as my dream body for my body type and for, my ideal height and weight. And I know what it's like to be outside of that and to feel like it's so far away and to feel like the only way to get what you want is by working harder. But it's actually really relieving to know that showing up and doing good enough consistently actually gets you there faster than what is the extreme way. So that's me. And then because of all of that, who we have been serving over these past 10 years or so since I've been in business online coaching women is primarily perfectionistic, high achieving, all or nothing type of women like myself, because there is so much more than just a quick mindset shift to this transformation. There is so much packed underneath why we have the beliefs that we do. For example, we've been fit before. A lot of the clients that we work with, not all, but a lot have either been an athlete or some kind of all-star in like school or life where they were rewarded for just their hard work, dedication, and discipline. Their personalities are often that they do things 100% or they don't do them all at all, right? And that's how they've been rewarded in the past. That's how they've been raised. And it's probably also what it took the last time that they were fit, whether they did Whole30, Weight Watchers, 75 hard, and they got in shape in ways that were, extreme and rewarding, but not sustainable. And so it becomes ingrained in us that fitness can't look any other way. And this is why making this transformation is more than just the quick mindset shift of, okay, cool, good enough over perfection. Yes, we have to practice that over and over again, but it's also a change that we need to ingrain not only into our brain, but our entire nervous system, because our body is built on and has been running on go, 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 be productive, work harder, push through, or else, or everything falls apart, or everything breaks down for probably a good 20 years of our life. And so it's actually conditioning your mind and your nervous system to accept the slow and steady and calm and the gray areas where our mind and our body is so quick to spiral, so quick to catastrophize, so quick to second guess, that our body literally does not feel safe in the gray area and in the in between and in the good enough. And so it's creating positive associations with the slow and steady, with the tortoise over the hare. And that's how we're going to actually make this a lasting transformation. So that is how we are going to get you there in a broad sense. And so the reason that it hasn't been possible for you before to actually get the good enough down, right? A lot of you guys listening to this, you probably know to some extent. Like for some of you, I hear that the time that you've encountered my perfection versus good enough reel is like, oh my God, this is the first time this has ever been like shown to me what I can do differently. And that's incredible. But a lot of women are like, I needed this reminder. So there's this knowing of, oh, okay, you knew that this is something you need to work on, but it's not sticking. And you're still not successful when it comes to achieving your dream body, getting a good balance with food, not being all or nothing. Why hasn't it been possible for you up to this point? So the reason it hasn't been possible before is because you have focused on some of the parts that it takes to get there, but not all. So I'll share with you a few examples. The parts that it takes to get there are our mindset, our nervous system, the strategy. Okay. And all three of them have to be integrated in order for you to be successful. So if you have focused on the mindset part, right? Training yourself to think good enough over perfection, or you've gone to therapy, or you have really been working on yourself to not just be all or nothing. One of the biggest kind of traps that people fall into with this is that we get too lenient with ourselves because we don't understand how to simultaneously aim for good enough, but also hold up standards, right? And so perfection versus good enough. Good enough is not about discarding striving for excellence. It's not about discarding striving for the highest possible standard. It's about making do with what happens if you can't do the highest possible standard. But a lot of the times you're able to. And so I think the biggest thing that people mess up in the mindset part is they start to mistake good enough for complacency, for leniency, for making excuses. And self-compassion, being kind to yourself in these moments, is often confused for complacency, which is where people can kind of get into this mentality that mediocrity is okay, not having high standards is okay. And I don't know about you, but like getting comfortable with complacency, like literally like twists me at my core. Like I hate that. And I think most people who I talk to about this concept also hate that, which is what makes them resistant to entertaining it in the first place. But those who do and they try to accept that, they often take the pendulum swing from one extreme to the other, because that's human nature. We go from one pendulum swing to another to then meeting in the middle. Then we have people who just focus on the strategy. Okay, so when we just focus on the strategy, we're missing the mindset shift and the all or nothing mindset takes over. This one's pretty simple. When we're not really regulating and staying mindful of what's going on in our body and our nervous system, we are typically we are typically going to default to whatever feels safest to our nervous system. So our mindset is going to default to the same things that it has. Our nervous system feels safe doing the all or nothing. It feels safe in the pattern, even if it's a dysfunctional pattern. And so it's going to stay there. And the strategy is not going to work simply because we are consistently perpetuating the idea that it has to be all in, it has to be perfect, or I need to be go, go, go. I need to be doing more, more, more. And we can't accept what enough is. And then there are people that I've talked to, plenty of women out there at this point, especially in 2025, where the online coaching industry is so prevalent, that you have tried to focus on mindset and strategy, because there are a lot of online coaches out there that are trying to do a good thing. And they try to give you the strategy, like your macros, your calories, your workouts, your steps, your water intake, and try to coach you through the mindset. However, my girlies, you have been through the ringer of underqualified online coaches. Unfortunately, there are a very, very small percentage of coaches in this industry that are actually qualified in things like psychology, neuroscience, your nervous system, and being able to actually coach you through it is another set of qualifications that most people do not have. Unfortunately, the barrier to entry in this industry is extremely low, meaning that all you need to do, and this is something I'm grateful for, because there are a lot of people out there who want to do a good thing, and that was me 10 years ago. I wanted to do a good thing. All I had was a CPT at the time, and I went ahead and started coaching people. Was it really my business to do that at the time? Probably not. Did I have some experiences where thankfully I worked with people back then, and many of them came back around to say, I really liked working with you, but I was kind of left with these scars of like, I look at tracking with an aversion now. I struggle to even get myself to do that because of how rigid I once was about it. And they've actually come back because they've seen the growth that we've had here at PCC and how we've overcome that. But a lot of online coaches are still stuck there, especially if they have this background in like athletics, bodybuilding, right? Those are people who thrive with tracking every macro to a T, who thrive on rigidity. And that's actually what they've built their life around. And so for them to be coaching lifestyle clients, people who want to have a drink or two on the weekend, people who want to be able to not obsess over food every second and still achieve their goals, then they need people that can actually meet them where they're at. And so the reality is that you probably, if you have had a coach before that tried to focus on mindset and strategy with you, or you've focused on mindset and strategy together, it might have worked better for some time. But if they were missing critical coaching skills, like actually asking you to collaborate with them on the goals that you guys were setting, and being able to take things really with a scaffolding approach and build up habit by habit, or being able to pivot when just calorie tracking and macro tracking isn't working anymore, or being able to deal with failure, shame, self-sabotage, negative emotions, wanting to quit, and being able to actually coach you through that to where you get stronger instead of weaker every single time you fall down, then you're probably missing the actual nervous system integration to where we are not only working on the mindset, working on the strategy, but you have the appropriate coaching to make it stick. That's behavior change modification coaching. And that is what makes it feel safe in your nervous system, because you're the one driving the bus, not the coach, right? If you felt like someone was telling you what to do, and you learned a lot, but it didn't stick long term, that's a sign that that wasn't a qualified coach, because a qualified coach honestly doesn't teach very much. You're not going to have them dumping 5 minutes of telling you what muscle protein synthesis is and why protein's so important, or what alcohol does in your body. You guys know that. You guys know you don't want to be drinking as much alcohol as you are. You know that you want to be eating more protein, but your coach gives you lists of protein sources or educates you on why it's important. A great coach is not going to really be telling you anything. They're going to be asking you about your own motivations, doing a tactical coaching strategy called motivational interviewing, asking you questions that bring you out of ambivalence and stuckness into action, because it's driven by you, your wants, your needs, and your inner desires. And a great coach can bring that out of you. But a good coach will tell and will teach and will educate, and it will feel productive, but it's not actually going to get you anywhere. Okay. So that's where the nervous system integration sticks, because it also integrates into your identity and it integrates into your behavior. So that's why it hasn't been possible before, is because you've worked on so many of the pieces, but you need them all together, and you need them to be integrated by a practitioner that actually has the skill set to do so. And so that's why we do what we do here at Permanent Change Coaching. So my background is in neuroscience. I do have a whole podcast kind of breaking down my story, my background. My background is in neuroscience, and I integrate psychology and nervous system reconditioning into our coaching. I've been coaching online for 10 years. So being able to actually coach people instead of just tell and teach is something that I was able to learn over the years through actual experience, but also certifications, mentorships, etc. And of course, the mindset and the strategy. We need to know how many calories to eat and things like that. But that's about 2% of the puzzle, if we're being totally honest. The amount of time that my clients and I spend talking about what our calories should be is so minuscule compared to the transformational change that is happening in their mindset. The fact that they are no longer perfectionistic, the fact that they're able to accept good enough, that they are choosing good enough, that they are showing up more consistently because they are discarding the all or nothing thinking. And they are the ones that are feeling proud of themselves in the process of stacking those wins. Okay. And so we don't just focus on your body. Your body is going to transform. We have our average clients lose 10, 15, 20, 25, 35, 40 pounds from these changes that they make, but they make it with layering in real gradual behavior change that's backed by cognitive behavioral therapy, neuroscience, physiology, psychology, and we focus on the entire unit of your overall health and well-being becoming united. So you're not sacrificing your social life, you're not sacrificing your relationship, you're not sacrificing your career, you're not sacrificing time with your kids in order to be able to see amazing change when it comes to your health, because it's actually aligned. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of quick examples. One of my clients, Tiffany, had been working with a coach before she came to me, who basically gave her calories, macros, and told her every single week, if she wasn't tracking every single day and hitting her numbers every single day, Tiffany, you got to be committed. You just got to do it. You just got to buck up, track your shit, and make it happen. And Tiffany thought that this was productive coaching because she didn't know any better. She literally thought, yeah, I need to get on it. I need to be better. And this is just reinforcing lower self-esteem, lower self-confidence, lower belief in herself that she could actually do any of this. So when she came to me, it's very rare that I just make a call for a client. But when I looked at the history of what had been going on, I just said, we're not tracking. Nope, we're not doing it. We are going to take pictures of our food, and we're just going to observe our patterns and start to integrate more fiber into our diet. That's it. That's all I want you to do, because your biggest issue right now is you're not having bowel movements and you are avoiding tracking like the plague. So if I ask you to do it, you're just going to be running in the same circle. It's been about 2.5 months now that we have worked together, and she is now actually tracking almost every day, and she's having fun. She's now got her fiber up to 25 to 40 grams per day, and she no longer has this aversion. because I finally met her where she was at and removed the shame and the guilt from the process, I created a collaborative and client led environment that allowed her to actually understand the food that she was eating without the numerical associations to start. And eventually she started to become curious to ask, how much fiber should I be getting? I said, well, just start logging the foods that have fiber in them and start to see what that adds up to. And that curious approach ended up leading to her tracking almost her entire day. Now we have a protein goal, a fiber goal, and she's lost 4 pounds in the past 3 weeks from just continuing this process. Okay. So it's not about trying harder or putting more numbers into it or being more rigid or weighing every single gram of food that you put into your body. It's about actually aligning with what feels safe in your nervous system, allows your psychology to shift and change, and still gives you the strategy and the structure to still progress and see the vision forward. That's it. So if you are struggling with perfection rather than good enough, I hope that you know from listening to this that number one, you're not alone, that so many women struggle with what you are struggling with. That number two, your failed attempts are not your fault. There is a play into this from the industry, from the diet industry as a whole, perpetuating fad diets and cyclical yo-yos and trying to rope you in with the extreme approaches that we see online today. But there's also, harm, not malicious intent, but harm being done by coaches who are not fully educated in all the skills that they need to help people make lasting transformation. And so if this sounds like you're interested in learning more about what we do here at PCC, I would love to talk to you. So just go ahead and message me the word coaching on my Instagram. It's likely how you found me, but if it's not, it's going to be in the show notes and the link in the description here on this podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast because we're going to be doing a lot more content like this to actually coach you through for free the types of mindset shifts, nervous system retraining, and strategy that you need to lose fat sustainably with that perfectionistic mentality and breaking that down. My goal is going to be to help as many of you as possible. Some of you, it's going to be for free through this podcast, through our Instagram content. And for some of you, you're going to want to take the next step and actually work together, which I will be so stoked for. So go ahead and message me the word coaching and we can talk more. And thank you guys so much for listening. I know your attention is your most valuable resource. So thank you so much. And I'll see you back here in the next one.